Won't he do it? Yes, he will. Let's get the party started. What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. And today is Helios Deity Day, Sunday, August the 7th, 2022. And the time is a little after 2:45 Central. As always, brothers, we got a powerful message. We're going to jump right in talking about today is opportunity. The worse it gets, the better it gets. So we need to reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify how you must master your thought from the perspective of over and understanding what is called the science and metaphysics of non-local consciousness. So this, again, is an introduction to what we're going to be breaking down on August the 15th. Cost is $249, I should say, $249. To join us on August the 15th as we break down the metaphysics and the science of non-local consciousness. Because once you understand the science behind non-local consciousness, then, my anointed brothers and my beautiful educated sisters, you're able to vibrate in oneness with Source. You're able to be in tune with the inner instead of out of tune with the outer. So you'll never be good enough for the wrong person. I don't care what you do. It's just like you with the wrong man, woman, monkey, or squirrel. You'll never be good enough. Your product, your service, and your information will never be good enough for the wrong market. Today's message, like all of these messages, are extremely important for you to get out of stress. I talk to people every day, and it just blows my mind. From my children, to family members, to clients. Everybody is stressed the fuck out. Why? Well, external demonstration. It is paramount. In fact, if you do not wrap your brain around the construct of understanding that, as we talked about yesterday and the day before, you got one issue. That is your perception. So you perceive events. So events keep happening. They're going to keep coming at you every day. The situation and event, they don't change. So that means you got to change. Because the situation doesn't have power over you. Your perception does. Different event, same perception. Look at your relationships. You went through how many people? And you always end up with the same spot. I mean, not you personally, of course, but you know, people that you know. So there's people that you and I know, they go through the same shiznit over and over and over again, and they up in the same spot over and over again. We call that Groundhog's Day. So we got to do what? Well, we got to steal the mind. But we got a conundrum because of the inability to steal the mind, because nobody teaches, mind stillness techniques. And without understanding that there are endless opportunities for advancement, once you over and understand that your source of fear is your perception, it is not the situation. So let me say it again. The source of fear, the causality of all problems in your life is your perception. So how you are perceiving, aka framing, your environment. Now, in your defense, since you are nothing but energy, since you are nothing but frequencies, since you are nothing but waves, since you are nothing but verbs, since you are nothing but vibrations, unfortunately, your environment is dictating your perception. And so for most of us, our environment is shaping us. We are a reflection of our environment. So you are an exact copy, duplicate of your environment. And it's interesting because you create your environment. Then your environment creates you. That's just your belief system, by the way. That's all your environment is just your belief. Because remember, you bring about what you think about. So you are the vibrational equivalent of your environment. So people tell me all the time that, they're just in this environment. Well, if you are just passing through, then there will be no vibrational connection with that environment. That means you're in the environment, but the environment is not in you. So there is no environment out there separate from us, contrary to popular belief. The environment is embedded in us. We are so much a part of our surrounding environment that there's no difference between you and your environment. So that's why people in the hood, they act like the hood. There is no difference. Your environment is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. It's a reflection of you and your current belief system. So if you want to know what's going on in your unconscious brain and your subconscious brain, look at your environment. And I love talking about this topic because the proof is in the pudding. Ooh-wee. Damn. So people say to me all the time, Doc, not me, brother, praise Jesus. And, well, I hate to be the bearer of good news. Fruit doesn't lie. If there's a tree and it got oranges on it, it is an orange tree. If there's a tree and it got apples on it, it's an apple tree. So now you got to ask the billion-dollar question, and the billion-dollar question is, well, where is the opportunity? Because if we live in a culture and an environment of endless opportunities, where are they? I love that question. Why do I love that question? Well, you bring about what you think about. So you'll never, ever be good enough, until you are good enough. Now think about what I just said. So you're never good enough until you are good enough. So you got to be good enough. Because once you become good enough for you, guess what happens? You remove yourself out of that environment. Because the environment leaves you. You don't leave it. Because you now only live in mentality. So you'll never, ever be good enough for the wrong environment. Or in a relationship, for the wrong person, for the wrong place, and for the wrong thing. So no matter what's going on in your life, you will never, ever, ever be good enough. So now we've got to look at why are you trying to be good enough for something. You're in the wrong place, you're in the wrong time. You're trying to put, remember this changed my life because I was always trying to put a square peg in a round hole until I figured it out. Like, no matter what I do, those people don't like me. I am not that vibration. But I was trying to change my vibration to match my manifestation. So you'll never ever be good enough for the wrong person. That's why it's really simple to see like all relationships, all job problems, everything in life is the fact that you're not the vibration equivalent. There's no vibration equivalency. So that's why I don't really try to like, I was telling my daughter earlier about, trying to get remember, I used to do it too. I used to be so thirsty for customers and clients that I didn't want to lose any clients and customers. And then remember, whatever you do to get a client, you got to do to keep a client. And same thing in a relationship. So whatever you do to get a person, you got to do that to the entire relationship. So if you're not being authentic when you met, you can never be authentic later. So you might want to just do it the right way. I mean, that's what I recommend. What does that mean? That just simply means you just be you. People either like you for who you are, or You just vibrate. You allow them to vibrate right out of your life. And so your job is to stop trying so hard. Now, it's very, very, very important, brothers and sisters. So you'll never, ever be good enough, or your product, because really what we're talking about is business, not really relationship. It applies to relationships too. But let me make sure that you understand. See, your product, your service, your information will never be good enough for the wrong market. See, once you understand that, then you stop being thirsty. And then you will see endless opportunities. Because your product, your service, your information will never, ever, ever be good enough for the wrong market. So you are trying too hard. You're trying to thirst trap customers. Because we all want money or success or to be seen or to get Facebook likes. So, and I think I got like another day and a half in Facebook jail. So I asked a couple of you guys to post and reshare a couple of TikTok videos for me so you guys could do that. That way, I don't know if I'm hoping it'll show up on my Facebook feed or what have you. But either way, no biggie. The point is that, as we're expressing ourselves, the goal is to maintain perspective. Since your product, your service, information will never, ever be good enough for the wrong market, you got one job. Get your ass out of that market and get to the right market. That just simply means that somebody comes to you and they just waiting for any opportunity. They're just looking for anything to say something negative. And they immediately go dark. As soon as you they pounce all over you. They are just waiting for you to slip and fall because they don't really like you anyway. But they're acting like they do. So your job is to understand what we talked about, what we've been talking about all week, the 5 keys, y'all remember the 5 keys that we broke down? So number one, you got to be confident. Number two, you got to put your own confidence into an ebook or a product, service, or information. Number three, once you're confident and you put it into a product, service, information, you put that product, service, and information on a platform. We call that a funnel or a website. So you got your confidence inside of a product, service, or information, and it's on a platform. Now you got to make a introduction to the market. You got to introduce yourself by giving a free ebook sample, one chapter, or like I do. I do free shows every day to do what? Introduce myself to the new market. So you can do the same thing. So you don't have to put just one because you're meeting new people every day. So the reason why I do free shows like this, post them on my YouTube channel, is to constantly generate clients. That's why I always got people coming in because I have an evergreen marketing system. So I don't advertise because I'm evergreen. I'm always marketing. So it's like an evergreen tree is always green. Winter, spring, summer, fall, it's always green. So that should be your disposition. Was my disposition? Any way you bless me, Lord, I'll be satisfied. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly, 24/7, 365 from all directions. So when I lose, I win. And when I win, I win. So everybody's happy because that's my highest value statement. My priorities, my values and morals are one. That is what I am dedicated to evolving. So I'm always learning. What does that mean? This is really important. You cannot learn what you already know. Somebody should write that down. I'm pausing for theatrical effect. Let me say it again. I honestly got it. You can't teach old dogs new tricks. So let me get this right. You cannot learn what you already know. Let me say it again. You cannot learn what you already know. I don't think you got it. I got to get it again. Because, I'm a guru. You're a guru. So when you talk to Christians, they already know everything. So that's the wrong market. How are you going to teach them anything and shit? They know everything already. Are you one of those? So I have access to all knowledge. I don't necessarily have all knowledge. I have access. What does that mean? You cannot learn what you already know. Why not? Well, you already know. So the number one problem when it comes to endless opportunities, everybody already knows a recession is coming and you prepared. Because remember, whatever you prepare for, that's what we talk about insurance, why it's so crazy. You are preparing for what might happen. So since you're preparing for it, you are ordering it. So I never prepare for adversity. I'm aware of adversity, but I don't prepare for adversity. So the source of all fear is the preparation of fear. But what does that mean in English? Well, that means in English that since you already know, you can't grow. Why? Because you cannot put new wine in an old wineskin. What does that mean? Well, that means that I'm like a child. That's what the Bible says, suffer not the little children that come unto me. So you must be humble, you must be inquisitive, and you must always ask questions. So remember what I tell you guys all the time. Go back and listen to my shows 5 years ago. Every day I question my own reality. Every day I try to prove my own self wrong. Every day. Go back and listen to the shows. I say this a lot. Every day, because remember, this is why I am always the wisest person in the room. Because I never go into the room with the perspective that I am the wisest person in the room. That's why I am the wisest person in the room, because I can learn from a monkey, a squirrel, or a rabbit. I can learn from anybody because I'm always evolving. I'm always learning. I'm always open to consideration. I ain't say I'm changing shit. I'm just saying that I will consider, because that's what aletheia means. So the love of the truth in the Greek, in the Aramaic, and Chaldean is that word aletheia, which means considerate. It means objectivity. It is a statement about changing. It just says, I'm gonna ponder what you just said. And I'm going to compare your notes with my notes. I may adopt some or all of your notes, or I may throw them all out. But at least I am open. Everybody has a closed loop. Not everybody, but most people don't have space. So you got to what? Declutter. What that means, you got to release negative cheating, negative clutter, negative humor. So everybody is so busy being. That's cool. You got to be being. But remember what we talked about when we talked about the have formula. Remember last night I told everybody, did y'all do that? Did you do the assignment yesterday? What the assignment yesterday was, when you go to bed, you need to say this statement. What would I do after I have received? And then you fill in the blank. Another way of saying it is, what would I feel after I have blank? Remember, I said if you do that, 3 days, blank would manifest. Why? Because what you're doing is you're bypassing the frontal lobe. Because when you say, and you make a mantra or mudra or a statement of I am, I can, and I have, of the three, I have is the most powerful statement. Because him that has more shall be given. But the brain is smarter than you. The brain knows if you say, I have $1 million, the brain will say, no, but you don't. Because the brain is smart. The frontal lobe, you're very smart. So you got to tell the brain, okay, brain, well, how would we feel if we did have $1 million? Then the brain would say, oh, shit, we would feel great. We would pay off all of our bills. We would go buy some new house. We would buy some new car. We would take a trip to Dubai. We would go, hang out with, family and friends. We would do this. So the brain goes and it just starts imagining all the shit that we would do if You had your desires fulfilled. So you just bypass the frontal lobe. The most powerful formula that I've been using is that. I got 100 grand I give you today if you can prove me that shit doesn't work. If you could, wrap your brain around, now I'm going to give you the physics behind it on August the 15th, so that way you can understand the universal, unified field of feeling physically connected to the thing that you don't got. So I feel in my bones I'm excited. Everybody's telling me about, yeah, man, look at the prices, look at the gas, look at what's going on, look at the economy for the real, look at that thing. Oh, that, y'all, where you at? I'm in my desire fulfilled. So my brain doesn't experience the emotional drain that the average Atkibulon does. Because the average Atkibulon will go to the bank, and the bank ask the bank for a loan, and the bank will say, oh, no. And then you feel rejected. Or you go to the club, you try to get some digits, and that girl is going to say, get your whack ass out of here. You're not tall enough, you're not light enough, you're not dark enough, your muscles are too big or they're too little, your breath stank, whatever she's going to say. She's going to shoot you down. Why? Well, what did we say yesterday was number one? Confidence. Since you're approaching the situation not in the space of having it, you're approaching the situation of trying to get it. So reject, because you're trying to get what God said you already got. So this is a trick. The whole earth is a fucking trick to trip you up. So everything's a lie. You already got everything that you're trying to get. Discipline equals freedom. You got to build self before you can build teams. So all I do is build self. And then because I'm already at where everybody else is trying to get, they come over and they ask you, hey, Doc, what is your high frequency code? Oh, you don't know the science and the metaphysics of maintaining a high frequency code? Oh, okay, you got to join me then, August the 15th. Cost is $249, so we can develop your personal, private, productive, high frequency code that allows you to think, feel, and behave as if. So I think, feel, and behave in the gamma brain wave manifestation state. Because I'm not trying to manifest anything. Manifestation, law of attraction, all that shit's a lie. Or, let me rephrase that, it is a lower vibration, like karma. Karma does not affect me. I don't give a fuck about no karma. That's a low vibration of nickels. Now, ain't nothing wrong with it, but I'm not on that level, homie. Because karma implies something. What does it imply? So, whatever happens to you, you give consent to. Say it again, slow. Really, really, really slow. Whatever happens to you, you give consent to. Y'all didn't get it. I got to say it again. 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 So whatever happens to you, you give consent to happen to you. Let me say it again. 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 You didn't get it. Whatever happens to you, you give consent to. Can't shake this happen to you unless you say, come on in, devils, demons, sickness, fear, doubt, unbelief. Come on in. Y'all have a seat. Y'all thirsty? Let me get y'all something to drink. Why not? Oh, are you entertaining negativity? I mean, I know I'm asking for a friend. Man, that's a lot of people, they go dark quick. As soon as this shit is crazy. When I say crazy, I talk to people every day, and they say crazy shit. Like, Doc, the devil's after me. Really? Where the hell is he at? I see endless opportunities for success. So whatever happens to you, you give consent to. It is done unto you as you believe. Now, wow, life is crazy. Everybody is a victim of their own mind. It's sad to watch, but hey, we are all victims of our own stinking thinking. And unfortunately, Your perception creates your reality. It's not the event. It's your perception of the event. It's not the situation. It's your perception. As we've been talking about every day. This is hard. It's easy, but it's hard because it's sad. Because I remember like it was yesterday. And I was going through and I was just like everybody else. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I didn't know how this was going to work out. I didn't know. So I blamed the person. I blamed the place. I blamed the thing. I didn't know. And the beautiful thing about being a master teacher is you got to be a master dummy first before you become a master teacher. So it's not the person, it's not the place, it's not the thing. It's your perception of the person, place, or the thing. And everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, is too busy to examine their perception of the person, place, or thing. Have you ever asked yourself, how do you process information? Like for real. Like how do you process events? How do you process any event? If something happens, how do you process it? What makes an event good? What makes an event bad? How do you process events? All I do every day is examine how I process events. Because I've learned over time that it's not the event. It's not the situation. It's not the person. It's not the place. It's not the thing. So I'm sitting here, I made a TikTok video. I'm in Facebook jail. So I did a TikTok video, and inside of the new home, and it's a beautiful home. But I remember when it was just a thought. So Diane, I'm sitting here this morning, and like pretty much every Sunday, I have pretty much the whole day to myself. So by the time the wife and kids get back from church and everything, Sundays is interesting, pretty much like every day because I'm usually by myself. See, time doesn't exist. Clocks do. Now, since time doesn't exist, say it again, time doesn't exist. Clocks do. So you think you're spending time. But if there's no such thing as time, how can you spend something that doesn't exist? Now think about that question for a moment because we're talking about perception. So how can you spend or spin something that doesn't exist? Now we're talking about the science now. We're talking about the metaphysics. We're talking about August the 15th. We're talking about why you, not you personally, but Nicholas, don't have the capacity to comprehend the reality. We're talking about Groundhog's Day. How can you spend something that doesn't fucking exist? I'm asking for a friend. How can you spend time if it doesn't exist? I'm asking for a friend. I know that some of you niggas from, historically black colleges listening. I know y'all know the answer. How can you spend time doing something if it doesn't exist? So you can't spend time because time doesn't exist. We're in the eternal now. So we got conned into believing into something that doesn't exist. But since you believe that it exists for you. So it doesn't take me time to manifest. I manifest everything instantly because I'm designed and I got a knowing system that allows me to exist in my desires fulfilled now. So how can you spend time if time doesn't exist? Ask it to a friend. Because the average, keep it on, you can't answer that question. Because see, you spend time at work, or you spend time with your family, or you spend time. It's crazy when you understand. Each and every person on this call has the ability to get outside of time. How do you do it? Change your perception. So that's just one example of an illusion. I specifically not. So now let's go to your problem or your situation or your issue. Because remember, there is a person, there is a place, and there is a thing that is trying to con you into believing in it. Because you got to give consent to negativity in order for negativity to be you. You have to say by giving your consent, by repetition, by repeatedly thinking about your bills, you are programming the mind to manifest your bills. So you must do what I recommend, and that is declutter, clear the mind. They call it meditation. So how do you master your thoughts? So how do you go from being out of tune to being in tune? Well, the environment sends you a frequency in your internal spirit because you are Yah-He-Vah-He. Everybody is Yah-He-Vah-He, or everybody is A-C-U-T. We all have 4 elements. Excuse me. So you must put in the case of the missing shin, S-H-I-N, teeth, or S-I-N, or what we call spirit. So you are a body, you have a soul, but you are devoid of spirit. Not you personally, looking at you, So the situation has power over you if the spirit doesn't dominate you. Because remember, a lower demon, spirit, disposition, is subject to a higher demon, spirit, or disposition. So that's why I tell you guys, everywhere I go, I make sure I'm the dominant demon or disposition in the room. So I have no fear of death. Everybody else do. So I have a reason to live outside of time. Everybody else that I bump into, they got a reason to stay in time. Because they want to, there's something in time. There's the lust of the flesh. There's the pride of life. There's the cares of this world. So you want to stay in this world more than I do. So I know that. So I know I haven't run into no individual on the planet that has the same disposition as I do. So it's very difficult to have the same disposition as source. Because source doesn't exist in this dimension. Source is outside of this dimension. That's what we're talking about on August the 15th. So when you become one with source, you exist. Your spirit exists outside of this dimension. So you have a controller called soul. And then you look down and you see a body inside of the game. Now you see this 3D reality, that's what it is, a fucking game. And so now you have no emotional response to the game. You play the game, but you're not the game. Damn, 99% of the people I just lost. What that mean? Well, everybody don't understand the video game manifestation, interactive, engaging, imaginative, compelling, constructive thinking techniques that I'll be breaking down on August the 15th. Along with all of the science and metaphysics behind the universal unified field of physics, which states, thou must be one with the unified field. That's not on this planet, because the dominant culture created an ionosphere to block out God. It's called the reticular activating system. So you are designed so that way you can't shine. So we got to convince them. Well, it's difficult to manipulate energy. The average Reticular can't clear their mind. They got too many minds. So the average Reticular can't oscillate and vibrate in faith. The average Reticular can't combine and gather facts to verify their faith. The average Reticular thus doesn't manifest truth to give proof to the facts that they have faith. The average Reticular is devoid of fruit, which is why I post pictures of my fruit that back up the fact of my faith that's inside the life management system. So I got fruit. I eat it, I drive around in it, I'm sitting in it. Now once you get the fruit, now you got to the next level of maintaining the fruit. And the way that you maintain the fruit is quiet the brain. Declug the brain of all negativity. Negativity. Make space for clarity. Get clear. Clear your mind. Make sure that you are accountable only to your highest desire fulfilled. What does that mean? Go back to the question I told everybody last night. What would you do? What would you feel after you have blank? That's an honest question. In fact, that's the only question you should ask. Because if you could, like, see it and feel it, then you would be it. That's it. That's the smoking gun. That's the $1 billion feeling. Because that's God. So God is desire fulfilled. But can you maintain God in your brain? Can you let this mind be in you? Can you do that? Well, Dr. Way, my favorite account. I know I could get paid. See, there's a lot of minds out there, but can you let this mind be in you? Well, I know. I didn't read this shit in the book, bro. I've been there. Shit, I'm still there. Every day I work, I got the same battle you do. The same battle. Now, don't you want to go back to Egypt, brother? Don't you want to go back? Even at this level, it's still the same old devil. That little voice in my head saying like, oh, you had a good ride. You finally made it. Guess what? This is temporary. So then, if I'm not careful, I fall into the same trap of trying to control people, places, and things, events, situations. And all I got to do is what? Maintain my brain. See, credit is the power to spend. Debt is your friend. See, we got it backwards. Because Nobody wants a debt. In other words, if you owe the IRS money and all you got is debts, they're not going to come after you. Why? You ain't got shit that they can take because they don't even understand the power of debt. That's why all rich people stay in debt because debt is not a threat because they don't understand the debt. So debt is how you pay yourself and how you pay everybody else. Because I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live. You're dead. Debt represents death. So in this culture, in this environment, they go after people who have assets and income. So if you ain't got no assets, you ain't got no income, nobody's going to talk with you. They're going to leave you alone. So they can say there goes a walking dead man. Yeah, you're dead physically, but you're alive spiritually. So you live in the spirit realm where your desires are fulfilled. I'll break it down, August the 15th, where we get into the science and the metaphysics of living in the spirit. So that way you do not what? Walk in the flesh. Because if you come to the flesh, they come after you because that's evil. They're like, oh, who this mother, we need to make an example out of him. So solutions don't change or situations don't change, but solutions are your response to the situation does. What that meaning is? That just simply means that, as I said before, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God did not consider robbery to be equal with God. So that means you should be the vibrational equivalent of God, not the vibrational equivalent of your environment. Ooh, damn. Everybody in this call, you got one job. You should be the vibrational equivalent of God, which is what I'm teaching on August 15th. Again. Because we gotta go with him if you want to win. So what is the highest possible good? Well, you should be the vibrational equivalent of God. You should be. You should be. You should be the vibrational EQ of God. You should be. But what if you're not? Well, that means that you are on a lower frequency. And then that means, well, all bets are off. So your job is to amp up your game. So that way you are the vibrational equivalent. When you become the vibrational equivalent of God, then everybody, every demon and devil sees you as God. They don't see you, they see God. So you should be the vibrational equivalent of God on earth. So your body and your soul is powered by God. So this is how God gets into the earth. Because remember, the devil created an environment where God could not come into. So God says, okay, Lucifer, let's play this game. If you want to use that term, because this is all a game inside of one brain. So let's just say the brain dropped down to a lower frequency. So that way it could experience, if you want to use that term, different stimulations. So now source code is coming down to take control over the game. But he's using the characters in the game to control the game. So he, him, her, itself is not actually coming into the game. He's like, okay, I'm going to use the foolishness of preaching to save those who are lost. So source code said, okay, you created a bunch of NPCs, non-player characters. I'm going to turn the non-player characters into players. And I'm going to take NPCs and just whoop that ass. So that's what the big G is doing. So the big G is like, okay, I don't even have to come down, send higher frequency. I'm going to take low frequency beings and transform them into high frequency beings. And then they will go and whoop their ass. So there's a war going on between keeping you in a low frequency state, and there's another battle to turn you into a high frequency state. So we're turning poop into glorified poop. So your body is being regened. So the source code is putting this particular frequency or this particular wave or this particular verb or this particular vibe into bodies. Now, according to the spirit realm, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon, when you add a spitty pass to it, you change it. You transform it into what's called a glorified body. That's the game. So the game is for your mind to be occupied by God's design so you can shine. That's the game. Let this mind, not any mind. So we got the wrong mind. So all I did, what I do every day is I check my mind. So I never wake up and say, I'm good, my mind, nope, I'm going to check it. Because I could have went, stupid last night. I could, I could have fell off. So every day, I check my mind. And every day, I bring every thought into captivity to see if it's of generating, operating, and directing. Meaning, am I being productive today? Every day. Because remember, your thoughts, you are the sum total of your thoughts. Nothing more, nothing less. So you should be the vibrational equivalent of God on earth. That's it. So anytime that your thoughts are not the vibrational equivalent of God on earth, that's what we call negative. That's what we call bad. That's what we call the devil. So when the devil's after you, he's beating you up, and he's taking your Kool-Aid and all of that stuff that the devil does to you. Why is that happening to you? Well, it's your perception. You the devil. So all you gotta do is the same thing I do. How can you spend time if time doesn't exist? Just like, how can you fight the devil? The devil doesn't exist. How can you have problems if problems doesn't exist? How can there be a situation if situations don't exist? How can there be anything if anything doesn't exist? Well, you make it exist because you give consent for it to exist, but it only exists for you. So how come Bezos, Trump, Cuban, the 1% don't have the issues that you do? Well, they chose not to give consent to that specific issue. How? They chose to occupy their mind with a different design. How? They brought every thought into captivity. How? They didn't come into the situation with an ego. They wasn't arrogant and cocky, and I know everything. What they did was examine everything to verify everything every day. What does it mean? The market changed. People change. Situations change. Places, things change. So you got to change too. What worked today may not work tomorrow. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, posting on Facebook maybe used to work. Then all of a sudden you wake up and you're in Facebook jail like me. So now you may have to get other people to post for you on Facebook. Or you have to do LinkedIn. You may have to do Tumblr. You may have to do, what do you call them? Pinterest. You may have to do Spreaker. You may have to do TikTok. You may have to do Snapchat. What am I saying? I'm saying that you cannot wake up and stay in the same place you was every day, because source code is always evolving. The only thing that is guaranteed is change. And the one thing that people don't like to do is change. So the thing that I have mastered is change. So now when I wake up, I can, I am, and I have. So I ask myself morning, noon, and night every day, am I feeling right now what I would feel with all of my desires fulfilled? If I'm not feeling what I would feel when my desires are fulfilled, then I need to ask myself, what am I thinking? And when I do that, I find out that a thought snuck in through the back door that said, what if, Brother Will? What if? So I got to grab that thought. I got to drag it out, kick it and spin it to the Diane because it doesn't want to leave. So to the Diane, I got to replace that thought with a more dominant frame. So I reframe that thought by saying, what if you don't make no money? So I say, well, shit, what if I do? So all I say is the thought comes in and say, what if you don't make no money? And then I replace that thought, shit, what if I do though? Ooh, what if I get 51 people to pay me $19.95 for this? So I'm going to post this talk on TikTok, and what if I get 51 people to pay me $19.95? Then I reach my goal today. What if? So all I think about is, because the enemy says, hey, what if it doesn't work? But I say, but what if it does? So we go back and forth every day, and I focus on what if it does. But the little voice says, but what if it don't? And I say, yeah, but what if it do? So either you are in tune or you're out of tune. And your environment assists you with being in and out, which is why I'm in this environment. So I created this environment to help me stay in tune. So that's why I drive a $100,000 car. That's why I live in a $1 million house. That's why I exercise twice a day. That's why I detox. Why? Stay in tune. Everything I see, do, and have, think, is designed to keep me in tune with God. Everything that most other people do is designed to keep them out of tune with God. So you got to make a choice. When you go, your environment that you live in, does that keep you in tune with God? Clothes that you wear, food that you eat, car that you drive, your environment has an effect on your tone, your tune. So the source of fear is your perception of your environment and your perception of the people, places, and things that happen in your life. We call those events. So events happen. They're not negative or positive. They're just events. So you can't perceive based upon the dominant culture's definition. The dominant culture said the interest rate's going up. That's bad. And everybody's afraid. Is it bad? Not really. You didn't even got to, so you don't have to even do anything that has to do with interest rates. You could choose to withdraw your energy from like being involved with the stock market or all things that have to do with interest rates. You have that choice. You can do that anytime you want. It's totally up to you. So my brothers and my sisters, there is nothing but endless opportunities. We live in a culture and in an environment that tries to make you think time exists. To try to make you think that bad things exist. To try to make you think that death exists. It doesn't exist for you because you're spirit. You have possession of a soul. You give it back to you. You got possession of a body. You give that back to you. But your spirit energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It's eternal. It just changes form. So you could be gas, right? You could be liquid, right? Or you could be solid, right? So your energy, you're in one of those states. But you get to choose which state you live in based upon what? Your disposition, which is your belief system that creates the frame that controls your situation. So I control my situation by controlling my inner perception of those situations. So nobody can make me feel. I'm the only person that can make me feel because I get to choose how I interpret the situation. So I choose to interpret it, all negativity as positivity. And I choose to continue to interpret all positivity as positivity. So I have no negativity. Even when it's directed towards me, I reframe it. I paint it in a positive manner, even though it was sent in a negative disposition. So even though, unless I choose to go dark too, but I limit my time in darkness. Because the goal is the enemy wants to get you into darkness and trap you in darkness, keep you in prison. How does he do it? With other people. So you could be positive and you say something and then other people's reaction is negative. Because the goal is to get you to feel the same way they do. Your goal is to never allow someone outside of them to affect what's going on inside of you. That's your job. Your job is to not allow some person, place, or thing outside of you to affect the person, place, or thing inside of you. Your job is to make sure that inside revelation overrides outside demonstration. That is your job. So every morning you wake up, and every noon, day, all day, you should bring every thought into captivity and see if it lies with the highest possible design. If it doesn't, throw it the fuck out. Why? It does not belong inside of your frequency, wave, and vibration. So once again, make sure that you maintain your brain with the highest possible design, which is production, evolution, and evolving in a space of love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, and self-control. Why? Everybody wins. Any way you bliss me, I'll be satisfied. This is about production, not seduction. Seduction is the introduction to production, but production is key. Make sure that you're operating in a frequency, wave of vibration that allows you to always see the glass half full instead of half empty. That is how you master your thoughts with a non-local consciousness. Because everything that I just described is not local. You can't go to the local, Walmart and pick up a copy or pick up that consciousness. You will not find a non-local consciousness at your local grocery store. It is off the planet. That's why your boy Elon Musk and everybody else is trying to set up this quantum computer and they smashing atoms over at Project CERN because they're trying to tap into a non-local consciousness, which I'll be breaking down for you in more detail on August the 15th, so you can operate in a non-local consciousness as well. Love you, appreciate you, and then you can do it right. I'm going to see you at the time. God bless.